Now, WLOX presents the Friday Night Football Showdown Halftime Update.
Proudly sponsored by Champion Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and Oak Trust Insurance Group.
And hello everybody, welcome in week 10 of Friday Night Football right here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Dylan Jones. You might be wondering, why in the world are you wearing scrubs right now? Same reason that guy back there is dressed up as the Joker, all right? It's Halloween, man. Dress up, have a little bit of fun, all right? We got plenty of tricks and treats for you. All these teams around the coast looking to vie for playoff spots as the postseason is just around the corner. And you can see how those games are going if you head on over to WLOX.com. You get all the latest scores and updates. What we're going to do real quick, we're going to give it a quick second to update there. What I'm going to do in the meantime, I'm going to give you a little tour on how to get there. Visit WLOX.com. You can also do this on our mobile app as well. Hit this hamburger menu. You'll be able to find the sports tab. Click the little arrow, and you will be able to head over to the scoreboard where you'll be able to get live updates from all of those games happening all around the coast. And believe it or not, we actually already have some games that were played last night, but we're getting ahead of ourselves, all right? First, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick look at what we're looking at coming into this week, all right? Our top 10 coming into this week. Ocean Springs still in that number 1 spot. Greene County at that number 10 spot. That's the newest team in those rankings. Hancock and Pascagoula also receiving votes. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, those rankings are definitely going to get shaken up after this week. Week 10 by St. Martin, Moss Point, and St. Patrick, all likely playoff teams getting a chance to rest before next week. Moss Point and St. Patrick both have playoff games next week. Looking at our picks from last week, we actually had 3 people go unbeaten, all right? So if you think we don't know what we're talking about, you're wrong, all right? Matt, myself, and Cody all flawless. Not Cody, just kidding. Sorry, Cody missed the game. Sorry, Cody, I don't want to rub that in your face. Me, Matt, and Tyler actually all unbeaten. We had a few that stumped a few people. Wayne County, East Central, obviously a toss-up there. But for the most part, everybody pretty much firing on all cylinders. Looking at our game of the week this week, this is an important one, all right? This is very important. We see your Facebook comments, okay? Gulfport versus the Iberville, very important whenever it comes to seeding. Both teams looking very good up to this point in the season. Our very own Tyler Bell previews.
Mississippi Coast, buckle up. We're spoiled this week with the biggest matchup of the season. You're not going to find a team playing more explosively than Gulfport, outscoring their last 5 opponents by over 150 points and shutting out both Biloxi and St. Martin.
I think that we've taken care of the football. We played really physical on both sides of the line of scrimmage. We remained relatively healthy outside of those things and just continue to make our basic plays. And so nobody's done anything superhuman, but we keep stacking days and getting better each and every week.
And D'Iberville, they've been doing what they do week after week all season long. And other than a hiccup against Ocean Springs, they've been flawless. And coming off a bye week, they're refreshed and ready to be let out of the cage.
It was a good time for us to have a bye week. Obviously going into a big game with Gulfport with a lot of implications on the line, and also to allow us to have an opportunity to sort of freshen up and get a little rested, even though we've been working hard just to get a little bit less impact. So it's been a good week for us.
Each of these teams are being featured on our Game of the Week for the 3rd time, and all year they've been playing in must-win games and coming out on top.
It's exciting, you know, to know that the hard work has paid off, and we appreciate it. We're grateful for the recognition, and we know that, you know, with that comes responsibility, and we're just trying to make sure that we check all the boxes so that we show up ready to roll.
Our guys understand. They have great self-awareness. They're a very mature team, and so, I mean, you understand how it's playoff seeding, right? And it's always easiest to go to the pole position, you know, especially from the coast. And so you want to do as best you can to make sure you come out on top. And so what we have in store for us and what we've been playing for, and making sure we're playing our best football at the end. And so if I think we do that, I would feel great about our matchups.
If Gulfport keeps their foot on the gas pedal, there's nothing anyone can do to stop them. But D'Iberville has been nothing but a well-oiled machine all season. When power meets power, who is going to come out on top? Find out this Friday during the WLOX Game of the Week.
Now, assuming that D'Iberville is able to come away with the win there, the tiebreakers get so incredibly complicated. It makes my head spin. I get queasy just thinking about it. I just want to hurl. However, right now, that does not look like the case. Gulfport currently sitting in a nice little lead. You know, not huge. It's nothing that D'Iberville couldn't come back from. However, 31-14 there at the second quarter. I believe whenever we started this, it was nearing halftime. So they could be at halftime right now. But nonetheless, Admirals leading over the Warriors 31-14. What we're going to do real quick is we're going to go through tonight's games first, make sure you have those latest updates, and then we're going to recap from last night's game. So let's shoot back up to the top here, and it has been 14 years since the Long Beach Bearcats have clinched a playoff spot and 7 since their last district win. However, the season isn't over just yet. They visit the PRC Blue Devils, who are also sitting at the cutoff point with a 1-2 record, and this one is getting out of hand quick. All right, that says 42-14. However, I think it's actually 49-14, okay? They just got another one coming up to halftime. I believe that's 49-14. I think they had something like 30 seconds left until the half ends there. Meanwhile, the Pascagoula Panthers are beginning to hit their stride, winning the last 2 contests to move to 2-1 in region play. They head to the Kill to face the Hancock Hawks, who have taken 3 of their last 4 after starting the season with 4 straight losses. Pascagoula looking good in this one. Had a rough start there at the beginning of the season, but they are coming alive. 27-0, they have the lead there in the second quarter. In Lucedale, the George County Rebels would clinch a playoff spot if the season ended after last week's games. However, with 2 contests left, they'll likely need to snag another win. They host the Terry Bulldogs, who have taken 7 of their 8 contests this season. Their 1 loss coming against West Jones. And if you know anything about high school football in Mississippi, West Jones, that's not a bad team to lose to, okay? They're usually pretty good. Okay, Terry in the lead, though, 14-10, certainly not anything George County can't overcome there. Something to keep an eye on there in that second half. With 1 more win, the number 4 Picayune Maroon Tide claims their 5th straight region title. It'll have to come against the Gaucher Gators, who are still trying to catch their breath after losing to PRC and Hancock in back-to-back weeks. At halftime, I don't think anybody expected this. Gaucher keeping up with them step for step. 21-21, it's tied. If Gaucher somehow pulls this off, I feel that it's very safe to say that would be one of the biggest upsets so far this season. The number 8 Stone Tomcats are red hot, riding high after with an unbeaten 3-0 district record entering tonight's game. They'll claim the 5-8 Region 8 title if they can pull out another win, this time over the Northeast Jones Tigers, who are still trying to preserve a playoff spot at 1-2. We saw them lose earlier this year to Van Cleve. At halftime, Stone in the lead 10-0. Also at 1-2, the Van Cleve Bulldogs are falling behind after losing their last 2 to Wayne County and Stone. They see a chance to firmly insert themselves in the postseason with tonight's game against the East Central Hornets, who will need to win out and receive a little bit of outside help if they want to extend their season. Right now, they're hanging in there, tied 14-14 at halftime. And what we're going to do, we're going to just pretend you don't see any of this, okay? Just pretend it's a surprise for your sake and mine. Okay, in 7A, depending on the outcome of Gulfport versus D'Iberville, as we mentioned, okay, 7A Region 4 tiebreaker, there's a lot going on. However, with that being said, the number 1 Ocean Springs Greyhounds are taking things 1 week at a time. They face a Harrison Central Red Rebels team still on the lookout for its first win since week 2 against Hancock. At halftime, Greyhounds lead it 28-0. We end by taking a look at the West Harrison Hurricanes, who could earn their first playoff berth in program history tonight. It'll have to come against the Biloxi Indians, who must win tonight's game as well as next week's game against Ocean Springs to clinch the region's number 4 spot. Right now at halftime, Biloxi staying alive 14-7. Of course, we also look at the Christian Collegiate Academy Bulldogs, still looking for their first win as an 11-man team. We do not have an update on this game yet. Once we have that score, we'll make sure to get that in there for you as soon as possible. So, kicking back up to our 4A games. Okay, FCA versus Greene County. Greene County, that's really one that they needed to come away with there in order to get that home game in the first round. However, turnovers end up being the story of the game there late. Aggies able to come away with a 21-14 win. Also, Pass Christian, number 1 seed out of that region, and they are showing it. 48-0. The Pirates able to come away with a win against Bay. As for the Tigers, their season is over. Poplarville also looking to try and see if they can't get that number 1 seed. However, they end up losing to Columbia. So, again, another crazy tiebreaker. We'll get to that just in a second. However, they end up dropping to Columbia, unbeaten, by the way, 49-28. We also have West Marion scoring a win over St. Stanislaus, who, as for the Rocks, we won't see them again until next year. Same goes for Resurrection, who dropped to Stringer. So what we want to do here is we want to come over here and we want to pull up the bracket for 4A. If you see in the top right, you'll see Moss Point on the road against Columbia. You'll also see question marks. So Greene County, Pass Christian, and FCA. A lot of that comes from this Poplarville region, Region 4A7. The seeding entirely depends on the outcome of tonight's game between South Pike and Macomb, okay? So what we want to do is we want to get these situations up in front of you now. Columbia has clinched that number 1 seed. They will host Moss Point in round 1. However, Macomb's beat South Pike. That puts Poplarville at the number 3 seed. South Pike wins. That puts Poplarville in that number 2 seed. Pass Christian will host the loser of Macomb and South Pike. Greene County could visit either Poplarville or Macomb. I know that's a lot. Stay with me here, okay? A lot going on there, so still up in the air there. It all depends on the outcome of tonight's contest between Macomb and South Pike. Looking ahead, we also have a 3A team in the playoffs. St. Patrick able to clinch a spot with their win over St. Stanislaus. Their only region win comes against St. Stanislaus this year. Their other wins come against CCA and Resurrection. They're looking for their first playoff win since 2008. It'll have to come against Franklin County. This is their 24th straight playoff appearance. That's a lot of playoff appearances, okay? Their last playoff win, though, coming in 2015. So that'll pretty much do it for us here tonight. If you want to get all those scores, make sure to head on over to WLOX.com to get all of the latest updates. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and check off of this computer, see if we can't get more of those scores in for you. So thanks so much for joining me. Can't wait to see you again on WLOX, ABC, and CBS at 10:15 tonight. Happy Halloween, guys.